Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Infinite Danger Room. I'm Matt Price. I'm here with Anthony Brown, and today we are going to talk about some of our favorite animated series based on superhero properties. We're going to each kind of give our top 10, what are our favorites, basically a top 10 favorite list, and talk a little bit about why those have remained our favorites. So if you're a fan of animation, cartoons, superhero cartoons, dial in now. This is the place to be for the next half hour or so as we talk about what our favorites are. Now, growing up, for me, it was Saturday morning cartoons was a big thing, and then I would race home after school to catch the cartoons that they would show from about 3 to 5 or 5:30, maybe 6 o'clock at that point. So those were the ways you catch cartoons. You couldn't just get them streaming on your phone at any given moment. It was a little more challenging than that. I don't know, Anthony, what was your Saturday morning experience? Big bowl of cereal, that sort of thing, or?
Never was a cereal guy. I ate Little Debbie's Devil Squares in the morning.
All right. That'll energy you up. Yeah.
And for me, it was how quickly could 10 o'clock get here or 9:30 so that I could start watching Fox, so that I could watch Spider-Man and X-Men, and, whatever would come on after that. But those two were the mainstays. And then during the week, it was either early morning or basically right when I got home from school. You could catch the Iron Man animated series or the Fantastic Four series, and so it was always kind of something. There was always a series coming up and coming on that I would race home to watch.
Okay, so we're going to do a top 10 countdown. We'll each do 10 to 1. I don't think we totally know what each other are going to say, so there'll be some crossover, but we'll start it off, if we'd like, go ahead and kick it off with you, Anthony. Go and give us your number 10 pick, number 10 favorite animated superhero show.
For me, it's going to be the Fox Fantastic Four. It's the Fantastic Four. What can I say? They've had probably the most series or second most series out of anyone. Maybe only Spider-Man from Marvel has had more series than the Fantastic Four, but they hit all the high points, in their first stories. They fight, Doctor Doom. You see Namor pop up. You see the Inhumans. You see the Impossible Man. I mean, you name it. They hit all of the major high notes. And one of my favorite episodes was one with the Mole Man and Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. He had his own little rap video or music video called Flame On.
Actually, I remember that one, yeah.
And he dances and he does all this, and it actually isn't that bad of a song, all things considered, especially for mid-90s. And so I don't know, I loved it, and that's probably one of my favorite episodes. That and the Psycho Man episode that takes from the comics where Sue Storm turns on the group and just polarizes everyone with her powers.
Okay, I'm also going to go with a Fox show for my number 10. This is one that I was a little older, not quite doing the kid thing, but this was a cartoon that appealed, I think, on a couple levels, and I'm going to go with The Tick as my number 10 pick, 1994 through 96 series out of Fox. I love the comics by Ben Edlund. They were hilarious, but there's only 12 or so original comics. And some of the follow-ups have been okay, but the TV series that Ben Edlund worked on really captured that spirit of the original comics. Hilarious, absurd, kind of poking fun at a lot of the superhero tropes, but also sort of paying homage to them in a lot of ways. So, a really fun series, cracked me up at the time. One that I think still pretty much holds up. So that's going to be my number 10 pick is The Tick.
All right. Checking in for me at number 9, X-Men Evolution. It came on the CW, I think is what the channel is called now. But X-Men Evolution was a ton of fun. It was a lot of the original X-Men as teenagers running around, just having a good time. They introduced some new characters like Spike, who is yet to cross over. X-23 was also in that series. I believe that's where she first appeared, and then she started to appear in the comics afterwards. But they explored a lot of the X-Men history and hierarchy, and they had some pretty cool origin stories, and they had some people that were older. So Storm and Wolverine served as mentors to the younger team, and then Cyclops and Jean were the older two, and at one point they actually became teachers to the older students, and they also introduced a second class after the first season, where they brought in Cannonball, Jubilee, and some other younger characters like Iceman, and so they did a good job of growing the cast and evolving the cast, and playing with them and giving them their own run. And one of the issues that stuck out to me was an issue where the girls kind of took over, and it was all about Jean Grey, Rogue, Kitty, and Boom Boom of all characters had a major role in this series. They became the Sirens, and they were they were bringing villains to justice, and it was just really cool with what they did with that series and with that particular episode.
Okay, my number 9 is going to be one that I watched with my kids, and it kind of came in. It's kind of probably why it's one of my favorites. Batman: The Brave and the Bold came on, went 2008 to 2011. It was after kind of they'd done some darker Batman stuff. This was much more of a Silver Age-y kind of Batman. He teamed up with a lot of different DC characters. It was a way to introduce kids to a lot of new characters they wouldn't have seen, that maybe wouldn't have ever had their own series, but they could show up in a Batman episode. So you'd see like Mr. Miracle or Commandy or different people who show up for a brief time, and it would kind of introduce the broader spectrum of the DC universe by a team up with Batman, which is what the Brave and Bold comic book series used to do. So I thought that was kind of cool. So lighthearted, fun, definitely more along the lines of a Silver Age fun feel versus a super dark feel, which not that the other episodes were super dark, but they were a little more serious. So that's one that I'm going to put in at number 9.
One of the episodes that I love from that is where Batman actually meets Space Ghost.
Yeah.
And they talk about their sidekicks and things like that, but that is a really fun part of the series because Batman explored all the places and all the heroes that were DC property, even some of the DC Hanna-Barbera characters like Space Ghost. So checking in for number 8 for me is Teen Titans. Not Teen Titans Go, but the Teen Titans series. I thought it was superbly done. It could be lower/higher on the list, I guess, depending on how you want to interpret this. I mean, it was phenomenal from start to finish. My favorite episode is actually one where Cyborg takes on Billy Numerous, and he gets the Max 7 chip installed in his head, and he tries to just take on the world, and he, in order to try to catch Billy Numerous, turns off his human emotions and eventually has a breakdown. And that's one of the episodes that I actually watch every year whenever I'm feeling super stressed out about work, to keep me grounded, to make me remember that, I need to take time to enjoy life and stop and breathe and do all of that. And so that's my favorite episode, and Teen Titans checks in for me at number 8.
Okay, my number 8, another one that only lasted a short time, 2 seasons, but is the closest thing to an Avengers animated series that comes close to the Avengers the way I read the comics. And that's Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. It ran around, from 2010 to about 2012, something like that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the closest they've come to capturing the feel of the Avengers that I associate with the team. They rebooted it, I guess, and kind of made it more close to the movies after this, but this particular version was my favorite version. Gave me the closest version of like Captain America, Iron Man, Black Panther, all of these characters. Felt the closest to me of the way that I visualized the characters.
Absolutely. Checking in for me at number 7, Batman the Animated Series. Again, this could be this could be some people's number 1. It could be, in your top 2. A superbly done series, won multiple, I think it was Emmy Awards and things like that. Introduced Harley Quinn. Had several spin-offs, and the Kevin Conroy, the guy who voiced Batman in the cartoon, he is the guy that, everyone looks to and says, hey, this is the voice of Batman. And until recently, I did not know The guy who voiced the Joker was Luke Skywalker, because I always just knew him as the Joker from Batman the Animated Series. Apparently, that guy's pretty famous, and but that voice for the Joker as well is someone that, again, if you're talking about people voicing the character, that's who you got. That's who you come back to. As far as a favorite episode from that, mine is actually from the final season where. Where Batgirl gets hit with Scarecrow's hallucinogens, and she is flipping out, and in her dreams, her dad figures out that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and he's mad that his daughter got hurt, and so Batman and her father are in a battle, and he ends up ultimately enlisting Bane to take down Batman, but you see Batman, Robin, Nightwing, all in this series, all fighting to survive. And so even though it was just a hallucination, it was, a phenomenal touchstone point for me in the series, even though it came at the very end.
Number 7 for me, and I'm realizing a lot of mine came out around 2008 and didn't run for a long time. Spectacular Spider-Man, number 7. That was God, who ran that? Was that a Disney XD?
Mm-hmm.
But it had kind of a fun, funky kind of vibe with Spider-Man, and I thought they did a nice job kind of tying all of it together, giving it its own feel, giving it its own continuity. Didn't feel super beholden to other incarnations, but kind of felt like its own version of the Spider-Man mythos. And I liked it a lot, and it's unfortunate it didn't get a longer run, but I'm going to say that comes in at number 7 for me. That's worth checking out if you can find the DVDs or whatever. It's, like I said, just I think a 1 or 2 season run for that one. It was a kind of a short run, but a very well done one.
Coming in at number 6 for me is the Fox version of Spider-Man. It ran for, 4 or 5 seasons. It ran for a really long time. They did a lot with the series. They brought Captain America into the series. The Fantastic Four made an appearance. The X-Men had a crossover. They did Venom. They did Carnage. They brought Black Cat into the series. I mean, you name it. They did it all. A lot of it was really well done. The Nick Fury stuff and how, he explained S.H.I.E.L.D. And I remember watching that on a Saturday and thinking, that was just absolutely incredible. So my favorite episode from that is going to be the one where Spider-Man actually ends up fighting with all of the other spiders. And it was it was a story arc of itself, but Spider-Man ends up fighting with all these different versions of Spider-Man to take out a version of Spider-Man that had gone bad and had merged with the Carnage symbiote or whatever. And it was just a ton of fun. You got to see Ben Reilly. You got to see at the very end Spider-Man come to our time and our timeline to take on, or not to take on, but to see what it was in this era. And so it was just a lot of fun to see all those spiders. It was kind of the precursor to the Spider-Verse, except the Spider-Verse was a lot more well done than this story. Not that it was a bad story. It was just a whole lot of Spider-Men fighting.
All right, so we did number 6.
Yep, number 6 for me.
Number 6 for me, and some people have some problems with the series being somewhat flawed, but it's my favorite characters. I'm going to say Superman the Animated Series from the 90s will be my number 6 animated series. I can see some of the criticisms, but I really love Daily Planet stuff. I really like the voice cast for that, and there's some fun Superman stories in there, and probably the best animated version of Superman that's been done, aside from maybe the Superman Fleischer cartoons, which I wouldn't really count as what we're doing here because it was more of a theatrical release than a TV series, but Superman Fleischers were really good too. So I will throw that in at number 6.
Number 5 for me, we're going to go with Justice League, the Cartoon Network series. And in that series, I'm counting the Justice League 1 hour, the 1 hour episodes that ultimately evolved into Justice League Unlimited. Just start to finish, again, that was really good. I think when you look at DC's foray into animation, they put a lot of thought and a lot of effort into their stuff, and it's all really, really well done. For me, this series, again, not knowing a lot about the Justice League, I actually didn't start reading Justice League as a comic until the Ed Bennis run right after Infinite Crisis. And so that was my first, deep dive into that. But they did a lot with that series. And so I really enjoyed a lot of what they did, especially when they did the Justice League Unlimited stuff and they expanded the roster. It was just a ton of fun seeing the interplay. They also didn't use a lot of the classic characters. Barry Allen wasn't the Flash. Wally West was the Flash. And then Green Lantern was actually Jon Stewart, not Hal Jordan, although in an episode Hal Jordan does make an appearance, and even Kyle Rayner makes an appearance as well. And so for me, my favorite episode is actually one where they replace some of the heroes, or Superman and all the heroes are gone and on vacation, and so you see Shining Knight and what is it, Outlaw? Or I forget the guy with the red bandana. He's an outlaw. Vigilante. There we go. And Stargirl and people like that fighting against the general who had gone bad and taken the serum.
Yeah.
And so that was my favorite episode, watching them fight. Also, the stuff that they did with Hawkgirl, Hawkman, and Jon Stewart. That was a lot of fun to me as well.
All right, so we are coming around the corner to a top 5, and we're going to come back with our top 5s, and we're going to dial in our other panelist, Chris Borthick, who's going to share his top 5 animated series as well. So for our top 5, we'll have a 3-way battle going on of our favorite shows. So far, what do you think? How do you like what we're doing? Make your notes and feel free to shoot us your emails at infinitedangerroom@gmail.com. We're going to come right back with our top 5 overall animated series based on superhero characters. So, coming back in hot. Are you ready for number 5, Chris? Are you ready to come in at number 5?
Number 5. Let's see. Caught off guard here. I would probably go with Superman the Animated Series. I really like it.
Okay.
Probably repetitive for a little bit of what you guys have done. But I really like it. I like that it kind of lays groundwork and exists in the Batman animated universe and ties in so well to all of that. So it's had some great stories. The Mr. Mxyzptlk characterization is one of my favorites of all time. And it's got one of the best episodes. And the Supergirl introduction, actually, in that series is really good. So,
all right. Very cool.
They even did a dive into that Superman Flash race episode.
Yeah, yes. That's one of my favorites.
That's a really good one.
That's probably my favorite episode from the series. So.
Yeah. All right. You're going to roll to me with number 5. My number 5, okay, some of my top 5 get a little more nostalgic than quality, so you can ding me on quality if you want. Number 5, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Nice. That was probably the reason I'm as much of a Spider-Man fan as I am, just coming and watching that show when Stan Lee would do the introduction, superheroes, and then Spider-Man would do stuff, and he's got a team, and there's all these different superheroes, and Captain America showed up in an episode, and different X-Men showed up. Mm-hmm. So that was sort of I had read the comics some, but that was my sort of animated introduction to the Marvel Universe. And that's why it still comes in at my number 5. I don't know that I can tell you that one holds up, although I watched some recently, still enjoyed it. But I think it's with a bit of a nostalgic colored glasses on. But that is my number 5 series.
I own that series on DVD. I really enjoy that series. One of the episodes that sticks out to me is when they do, I want to say it's Firestar's origin story, and they go visit the X-Men, or there's some kind of like X-Men anniversary because Firestar was a part of the X-Men, even though
she wasn't really.
She actually didn't join the X-Men until 2015-ish. But I really.
That's the one with the guy with the half robot face, right?
Who?
Isn't he the villain of that episode? Some guy with like a half robot body.
It's the Juggernaut.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Juggernaut. That's
so
right.
They're having this X-Men anniversary.
Who am I thinking of?
And so the Juggernaut is there, and so. They tell the origin story, and then like the new X-Men are there, and they Bobby meets Storm for the first time, and he's just like, oh my. And then like Wolverine is there, and he has an Australian accent as opposed to I guess the Canadian or just his burly accent. And so that was a lot of fun because like the characters were so new, and they didn't really have a lot of, I guess, history to the point where people care that much. But watching it now, that episode really sticks out.
Yeah, for some reason I remember her being in love with somebody or she had been in love with somebody with half a robot body, but I don't know what episode that was. Maybe that's a different one. I can't put that together right now. Okay, so you're number 5, Anthony?
I already
Or
did
your number 4?
My number 4 is actually the Fox version of X-Men, and for a lot of people in my age range, especially people that I went to school with, that's when they really started to fall in love with X-Men comics and things like that. Rogue, Storm, Gambit, Beast, Jubilee, Jean Grey, Wolverine, Cyclops, Professor X. I mean, you name it, all the characters came in. They did the Phoenix Saga, and I mean, that was appointment watching for every kid in my neighborhood when that came on. Everyone was just blown away that they did it. They did the Dark Phoenix. There was episodes with Apocalypse. They at different points they shoehorned in the acolytes of Magneto. They shoehorned in Havoc. My favorite character in one episode, and it was him and Iceman in the same episode. I mean, it was great. There's a lot of nostalgia for me with that. Going back to watch Night of the Sentinels yesterday or 2 days ago over the holiday break, and so just a phenomenal series that I fell in love with.
I think had I been a little bit younger, that would be like my favorite show.
Yeah.
But I was a little older at the time. But that said, I definitely know there's a whole generation of people that's why they got into the X-Men. So, okay, so number 4, Chris.
I'm gonna go with the Avengers, and not the rebooted animated version that's for the movies, but the Avengers cartoon that came out. That was basically retelling these great classic comic book tales. Captain America joining. You get Kang. You get the villains. The Secret Society villains. You get all this stuff. So, is the Secret Society the right thing? I may be wrong.
The Earth's Mightiest Heroes series is what you're thinking of.
Yes. So, amazing. Just some great stories. It was just awesome to see all those classic comic tales in animated form.
Okay. Number 4, I'm going to go with Batman Beyond for mine. It was kind of the logical extension of all the stuff that had been built up in the Batman, the Justice League, and all that Paul Dini, Bruce Timm universe. And so that was a kind of a neat conclusion, a neat way to see the DC universe of the future, a great way to kind of twist the Batman mythos. And it's one that when they announced it, you're like, okay. But then you watch it and you're like, oh, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Batman Beyond I will place at number 4 on my list for being much, much better than I think anybody thought it had any business being.
Okay.
So,
jumping into number 3 for me, that's Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Again, you guys are both saying that series praises, and it's a phenomenal series. I love a lot of what they did. They even crossed over between old stories and new stories. So they did the Secret Invasion story, which was really good. They also did the Korvac saga. So you got to see Rocket Raccoon talking. You also got to see Adam Warlock, and they went inside the Soul Gem or the Mind Gem, whichever one he has. I want to say it's the Soul Gem. And I mean, it was just great storytelling. They introduced the Vision and did his origin story. Captain Marvel made an appearance, or Captain Marvel made an appearance in the series, and I mean, I just salute them for the endeavor of the project. I was sad to see it go. Maybe Netflix can convince Marvel to let them start that back up, because that was at the same time when some DC properties were going on, and so there was a lot of really good animated stuff on TV at that time.
all right, Chris, rolling to you for number 3.
So my number 3 is the Justice League Unlimited series. For me, it's just one of those great epic times when you had so many different superheroes hit the animated universe. You'd get Vigilante, you get obscure heroes like, of course, Booster Gold, who's always a lot of fun. But I really enjoyed the characterization that they started branching into with the show. I mean, the Green Lantern Hawk Girl romance that budded was one of the most interesting little things to watch, as was the Question Huntress, and of course Batman and Wonder Woman quasi dating was an enjoyable, awkward bit of fun to see. And then they have great stories. I mean, fantastic arcs, great villains, great things happen. So yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Okay, my number 3, and this is another nostalgia-driven one, so I can't really argue quality. But Challenge of the Super Friends, my number 3. That was, race home every day from school, flip on the TV to watch that. Even if Batman's bat symbol was sometimes yellow on black or whatever. Super Friends faced the Legion of Doom. There were a lot of different Super Friends. Super Friends was on for about 12 years altogether in one form or another. But my favorite of them is the Challenge of the Super Friends version where it's superheroes versus Legion of Doom. Some classic looks, some Alex Toth designed characters. This introduced me to a lot of the DC Pantheon, a lot of the characters that I hadn't seen in the comics yet I met for the first time on Super Friends. So while you can certainly argue today, well, things have changed a lot since the 70s, that dialed me into those characters and dialed me into those heroes in a way that I still enjoy many of them today.
Well, I mean, and it's still in the mythos because actually in Legends, this recent season on CW, they jokingly dubbed the villains the Legion of Doom, and one of the characters developed something that they started referring to as the Trouble Alert.
Yeah,
and so I mean, it was kind of fun
it's
to
still
watch,
being referenced,
watch the referencing going on. So I think that's valid.
And other series have taken from it, even in the Justice League Unlimited series. There was an episode where basically their version of Jan and Jace showed up, and the Wonder Twins, and what was the name of
They also had the Apache Chief group and all
exactly.
that. Yeah.
So it was just, I mean, it was a series that there was a lot to take from, and the fact that kind of all the characters got a run. And kind of got dedicated episodes as well, where the Flash saved him in one episode, and the Justice League saved him in another, Green Lantern saved him in another episode, and so on and so forth. So it wasn't just around a central group of or a central 2 or 3 characters. It was all the characters got their due in that series.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say they did it perfectly, but they were trying to sort of combat we only have white males in the Justice League by introducing Apache Chief and El Dorado and some of these other characters. Black Vulcan, because I guess there was a rights problem with Black Lightning, but I like both of the characters. So they were trying to, 25, 30 years ago, well, more than that maybe almost 40, combat some of the things that we still sometimes are facing with people having a problem with trying to introduce different characters, and these characters were primarily created beginning in the 40s when diversity wasn't as big of a keyword as it is now. But I do think it's important for people to be able to see superheroes that look like them, and so Super Friends did at least make an effort in that direction.
Number 2 for me is the Disney XD Spectacular Spider-Man. For me, that series is just phenomenal start to finish. A lot of the things that they start in the first couple of episodes actually carry their way all the way throughout the series, and this is, to me, one of the first times that you see that in a series. Justice League Unlimited did some of that, but even some of the side things that they did. In one of the episodes, Spider-Man saves a couple and webs them together on a light pole from like a truck that's out of control. And then later on in the series, you see them going out on a date, and then even further in the series, you see the guy propose to the girl. And so it's just subtle things like that they did throughout the series. The Green Goblin story was phenomenal, and the role that he played. My favorite episode is actually the opera episode where Spider-Man is fighting Tombstone, Dr. Octopus, and Silvermane, in a battle, and the whole thing's set to opera, and they're just fighting and fighting and fighting. It's just a really good series from start to finish, and a lot of excellent storytelling. Even the Venom story that they did was really good. The Black Cat stuff that they did was phenomenal as well.
All right, Chris, you're number 2.
My number 2 is Young Justice. It is, to me, one of the best superhero cartoons out there. Great team book, a lot of character development. Absolutely heartrending at the end of season 2 when it gets canceled and Wally has sacrificed himself, and the twists and the turns and the surprises in the storyline were just like an amazing amount of well done writing for that series. I can't recommend it highly enough, and super grateful that there's going to be a season 3.
All right, very cool. My number two, you guys have both mentioned before, but Justice League Unlimited. Sort of like where Super Friends was my very young introduction to these characters.
Right.
Justice League Unlimited was sort of my more grown up, like, all right, now we get to see them kind of again with more mature storytelling. And honestly, at the time this was coming out, I thought, well, we're never going to see a Justice League movie or anything. This is going to be as close as it gets. And, we may actually get to where we see something like this in live action, but I think this is as peak of sort of the DC universe stuff you can get outside of the comics is in that JLU stuff. If you want to see the breadth of the DC universe, other outside of a comic book, I think that's the next best way to do it.
So number one for me is actually Young Justice. I think it's the greatest animated cartoon ever created. Just start to finish, what they do with Roy, what they do with Superboy, like the growth and development and the changes of all the characters. The fact that, Nightwing is center stage, and he doesn't have a gold rope or something like that. Just the way that they told the entire story, especially when you get to the end of a season. At the end of each of the seasons, there's always kind of a who done it or how they did it episode where they go back and they undo and take down the bad guys, and it's just like, well, we took advantage of your hubris here, or you guys, sold us short there, and they just outthink everyone. It's just like, this is so good. But also just again, the things that they do with Zatara and Zatanna, the stuff that they do with Captain Marvel, and you even see him as a child, then you see him as a teenager, and so who knows how much time is going to take place between the end of season 2 and the beginning of season 3, which I can't wait for as well. Hopefully it will come out on Netflix this fall or tomorrow or whenever, so I can get to watching that. But I just think it's phenomenal. If there's an episode on TV, I will watch it. Also, it's visually stunning. The Aquaman or the Aquaboy or Aqualad Atlantis episode where he's thinking about quitting the team and he's down in Atlantis and he has to confront Gar about his feelings, and he finds out that Gar and Aqua Girl are dating. Is that her name, Aqua Girl?
Yep.
So they're dating, and just the whole thing is just, phenomenal. It is visually stunning. Whenever I want to tell someone about the show and how good it is, I jump directly to that episode, and I'm saying, just look at how beautiful this is, because the entire series really is that way.
All right, great number one pick. Chris, rolling into your number one.
My number one is Batman the Animated Series. For me, it's the classic animated that starts it all for all of these great shows that I think we've mentioned, with the exception of Super Friends, for the more modern versions anyway. When it aired, it had that dark noir feel, the art in the Art Deco mix of modern day technology with that classic style. It's just a beautiful series to look at. The stories are amazing. As Anthony's citing the Atlantis episode for his favorite example, for me, Batman Animated the series really knocked it out of the park early on with me with Heart of Ice and the Mr. Freeze origin, because all of a sudden this character who's sort of in every portrayal just been a guy who has to exist at Sub-Zero had this incredibly deep motivation to save his wife, and he was betrayed, and it just turned his entire story into something with incredible depth. And that was just something you got in the series. But then you also got Mark Hamill as the Joker, which were, some of the most fun episodes. And you get Harley Quinn, which is, now one of the most popular characters out there. So just can't say enough about it. And the evolution of it with Robin introducing Batgirl, Robin becoming Nightwing, getting another Robin. All of that's just a phenomenal thing across the series. So,
all right. For my number one, I'm going to go with Tarzan and the Super 7. So I throw it out there. I was going to say Batman the Animated Series, but I thought Chris kind of covered it all. I did like Tarzan and Super 7 back in the day, because you had your Super Stretch and your Batman. A lot of different episodes that came in. It not as good as any of them. No, my real number one is Batman the Animated Series, but Chris, I think, covered a lot of the reasons why. Just a lot of depth, a lot more serious characterization than what you had seen in a lot of animation to that point, and stuff that kind of built on each other from season to season, which you didn't necessarily see in a lot of animation prior to that point as well. And it kind of started off a 20-year-ish run of some stuff that kind of spun out in the DC animated universe from there. So for me, that is what I think is my favorite and the top animated series that has been done for television with superhero comic book characters would be Batman the Animated Series. So what do you think? I think I ended up leaving off Wolverine and the X-Men, thinking you would put it in there somewhere, Anthony. So that's the only one I feel kind of bad about not getting mentioned. Young Justice, I knew you guys would cover. So anything you guys thought, oh, well, somebody mentioned this that didn't get in there?
I liked. You were talking about Super Friends iterations. I actually like the one that tied into the superpowers with Darkseid.
Oh yeah, that late one. Yeah, the
really,
Galactic Guardians.
Yeah, the Galactic Guardians. Yeah. I really liked that one.
It had Firestorm and Cyborg.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I really enjoyed that one.
For me, it was some of the other Fantastic Four stuff. The one with Herbie the Robot, the original, and one of the original series of the Fantastic Four, where you see them fight Diablo, and it was just really good. I own that on DVD as well. It's just, for me, the Fantastic Four are a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. The Herbie the Robot series, we're there at Ben's college, and he's there playing football, and he's trying to show off, and he's got the whole team on his back running across the football field, and Sue trips him up. And one of the lines that Ben throws out during the show at Herbie is he says that you're not my type, and even if you were my type, you still wouldn't be my type. Is a vintage line, and I may use that from time to time about different people with different things in life. So, I had a lot of fun with that series.
There was a one-season Silver Surfer series that I haven't rewatched in a long time that came out in the 90s. I remember liking it at the time, but I haven't rewatched it probably since it came out.
Yeah, and I remember liking the Spider-Man on MTV, the one season for that. That was pretty good. And I don't know if you guys mentioned, but there was Phantom 2099 with the Phantom. Did you guys ever seen that? That was a really good show too. The Phantom's kind of an obscure character, but it was fun. So,
well, and I said we should maybe do a top 10 not Marvel or DC.
Yeah,
because you could get stuff like Defenders of the Earth or Silverhawks or something in there, that would be a little more obscure. With us, these pretty much. I did mention the Tick, but other than that, we pretty much went Marvel and DC with our top 10. But and somebody else might have said Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles if they'd been a little in a slightly different era. So
Wildcats. They had a TV show for a season or so.
Savage Dragon had a season. Okay, well, hey, what did you guys think? What are some of your favorites? What did we miss that you would have mentioned? Feel free to shoot us an email, infinitedangerroom@gmail.com, or tweet at us at DangerInfinite, or find us on Facebook at Infinite Danger Room. You can listen to the show on iTunes, and we'd love it if you'd leave us a rating or a review. And you can also listen to the show on SoundCloud or via newsok.com. So for Anthony Brown and Chris Borthick, I'm Matthew Price, and thank you for listening.